Hardcore. Hello.
See, I love the fact that Iron Dogger thinks that wasn't planned, but it was.
Oh yeah, we do that all the time, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So hello everyone, welcome to Hidden Existence. Hope everybody's doing all right out there tonight. Oh yeah, we do that all the time, don't we?
God, I
Mhm.
can't believe I've done that.
So
Yeah.
hello everyone.
Is that me?
Howdy.
I don't like listening to my voice at all. I go, shut up when that happens, you know, when I'm playing the thing back. So hi Jason, hi Jackie. Long time no
Hey.
see.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
forever, Daniela.
Been like
Yeah.
about 10 minutes.
Well, I've been away for a while. First, I'm sick because I had this sinus infection because the weather changes, and in Texas it goes from like 90s to 40s, right? And then all the plants go nuts, so my allergies go nuts. I get an infection, then I get over that. I have my wife's birthday to go to because I still want to stay married to her. But now I'm back with COVID, and other than that, it's good.
You're here. You've got COVID. Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
But hopefully you're gonna get through it. You're here.
Oh, yeah.
You're online, so you're obviously not too bad. And,
No, actually, my fever broke today. Last night was bad. I had to sleep. I couldn't do my broadcast this morning because I was done.
yeah.
But I've been basically asleep all night
Oh,
or all day, and we're good. Right as rain now.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
I appreciate that.
I just saw him like, thanks, Mike. Hey, look at that.
Love it. So what are we going to 3 times in a row, third time lucky, Damien. That's what they say. Because I did a live walkabout this morning down the river. The guys there was 3 boat races. It's proper boating, you know, like at Oxford in those long not canoes, I guess the rowing boats.
Right.
Oh, hold on. I used to know this.
Really,
it's where you have a bunch of people, a crew. At least
crew.
that's what they call it here in America. I'd call them canoes, but they're not. It's
They're not canoes.
All right, I'll look it up. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to try and find a little bit of it and play a little bit of it. Well, not just, just the what I could see. Because I just walked past them and say, oh, what are these? Are they called canoes or because they're pretty long? Let me just put it up here.
Yeah, I can't remember. I watched them while I was in Portland in the hospital, and they had all the races there, and they fancy, just ornate.
Yeah. There
you go. Look.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty long, but it was an absolutely beautiful day down there.
Oh, nice.
It looks much. It's because I'm streaming. You probably don't see it as clear, but that doesn't look too bad actually. But little Miley. Let me get. I did have them actually rowing. The guys rowing.
Oh.
There we go. See. So there's 3 races today, and these are. I think these guys are from the university. It's like a university rowing team, and where you saw that boat there, that's an old railway. What do you call it? Little station, and the path I'm walking on is an old railway line.
Oh wow!
Which is now sort of like over, which just goes down the side of the river here.
It's a very exciting video of a shrub.
Yeah, I know. Well, you never know what's in them, and I like to get close up to have a good look. You never know. But I know this is annoying when people do this, but there you go. And it was pretty cold, and they were just like little shorts and t-shirts. Some of them. It was like,
wow. Yeah. Well, they are. Yeah, they are going hard. Actually, hold on. Do they have oars on both sides? Because
yeah.
So you're saying they're just called boats?
Oh, hang on. I don't know if they do have them on both sides. No, I think one.
Yeah.
Just has one.
Okay, so that's the thing is there's 2 different types. There's a sweep boat, which is usually 2 or more, but they have one person working one oar on one side, and they have them on both sides. Then you have a sculling boat, which is where they're doing it on both sides. Like you have 2, each person has 2 oars, and so they're just called boats. But it depends if you're in a scull or a Yeah, scull or a sweep. So there you go. They're just boats, and it depending on the oars changes the nomenclature.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, so that's what I did today, this morning. That's why I've been on 3 times
Beautiful.
already.
Mm.
Yeah, I know, Zach.
Mhm.
It's all the time. All the time. Oh, I did something today. Well, I looked into something. Well, I'll
Ooh.
tell you later, Jason. Forget it.
Ah,
So,
brutal.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You see how she rolls? Look how she
I can
rolls.
yeah, I'll talk about that later. A floaty paddle stick. It's
I'm working with that.
Floaty paddle stick.
I
That's
can
my
live
new
with
term.
Yeah, they do kind of float, don't they? You make them float. It was, Gary. It was pretty cold. It was nice in the sun, but yeah, when you're in the shade, and it's getting icy now. Can't remember what it was. It was cold anyway. 40 something, 45. I know that's not cold to some of you.
Well, wait. Fahrenheit or
Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm already working it out for you guys because I know you struggle to.
Yeah. Our brains break.
like why is everything an imperial versus metric? Why?
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
there's a reason for this, but I won't bring it for the show. It's a completely different conversation.
Oh,
Interesting though.
It actually has to do with the Industrial Revolution. That's why
cliffhanger.
that's what the break was.
The break.
Yeah, like okay, I'll go into this since we have nothing
Oh,
else
we're
to
going
say.
to go into it, right? Okay.
Here we go.
Industrial Revolution.
Right.
The imperial system is what everyone used to use, right? Like everybody. And it turns out that during the Industrial Revolution, the imperial system was better for mass production and for certain industrial uses. Metric, however, was better for scientific uses. And since America, sort of was very early on a much poorer nation than a lot of the European nations, they moved over to the metric system for science and scientific reasons, where the United States stayed with the imperial system for industrial uses, particularly post World War II, and everyone just stuck with it. And we just told our scientists to sit down and shut up. It's like, you will use the imperial system because we got to manufacture this crap that y'all use. So, yeah. So that's why.
Blurry. I just can't work out centimeters. I'm still, an inch girl.
Yeah.
Can't help it. I just give me a centimeter. It's like no idea what that is.
It's like, it is. When I was on the archaeological dig, it's weird. Like certain things about the metric system is way easier. It just is.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Yeah, I still think I can't think in centimeters or meters. I'm like, nope, yards, feet, whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Maybe not yards, but feet, definitely. It's just one of those, isn't it? So, what else was I going to say? We had a great show, didn't we? Iron Dogger.
Yeah. Oh, Cam was interesting.
We had a guy called Cam on who has had a Bigfoot encounter experience, which we didn't really get too much into because he's a true crime researcher, and we just kept going into the true crime thing because I really love true crime, as we know.
Yeah, we both were gripped.
He made a really good point that if Bigfoot is responsible for taking young kids, then maybe these two subjects need to connect together and start
for them to come together.
And look into this a little bit more. He might be coming on in a little bit, and I have to go and feed his kids and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Just getting in the way of stuff. But
just tell the kids to go grab a squirrel from out back. They'll be fine.
Just give them, a recipe book or something. They've got to learn somehow.
Exactly.
Right. Better to learn in the home than on their own at 8 or however old. But yeah, it's the way you learn, isn't it? But no, he's going to hopefully come on. We're going to talk about it a bit more because that's what he wants to do, is to connect Bigfoot to some of these. I mean, it is a possibility, isn't it? I don't think it's every kid and I don't think Bigfoot's responsible personally for all the 411. I know they're a mystery, but
Right.
you could attribute anything, literally anything, to them than Bigfoot. But what if a few of those, a handful of those, is Bigfoot related? Maybe there's more clues out there that we don't know about that are out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Iron?
Oh, I was going to say we could be missing out on a whole big, huge piece of the puzzle. You know, when you're not, it's someone that's been an analyst for, you know, decades. When you don't look at all the data, you're not going to end up with the correct results without fail. So if you put your emotional side into it, if you're not able to pull your emotions out of it, you know, if you're not able to pull your head out of certain things, you know, and truly look at it from an objective point of view and let the data speak, because that is what, you know, I think I see missing a lot of time is letting that data speak. Hey, Cam.
Hey, guys.
So,
You made it.
Yay.
We were literally just saying about your idea, your thoughts about putting these two subjects together, the missing kids, true crime, Bigfoot. It's, you know, never thought of that, and it could start raising awareness to much more people, because so many people follow true crime. It would just be interesting to see the reaction
And
we're
trying to bring the true crime community to this. We've been going through this thing lately with content creator battles against each other, and that has to stop.
It does.
And that's that's why we stick strictly to no bashing in our chats. I don't address anybody, because people are gonna hate. People are gonna talk against other people, and when you give them shine, then they just keep going. But if you ignore them, don't give anything to it. That's what and it seems to work out better that way. They'll go away. If you don't have haters, you're not doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think that some of these channels, I'm not going to name any, but they're making money, really exploiting these crimes by the way they stream. They can live stream for hours and hours, just sharing content from other channels about how investigations are going, not really doing anything than speculating and creating sometimes problems for the investigation, I think.
They do.
And, you know,
because law enforcement has to go off of what they're really doing. And if they see people are putting in rumors or reporting rumors to law enforcement, they still go and investigate that. So it takes away from the investigation of what really matters. There was for example, there was a content creator that here recently put out a rumor that Summer was safe. He had this high source that was way up in there that told him that Summer was in Wisconsin, alive and safe, and that everybody should to pay attention, that Grandma was the savior and she was saving Summer from Dawn, and it was totally unfounded, and it caused so much problems. And I'm always quick to make a video when these things happen and say, wait, let's be very careful. And let's get all of our information from law enforcement. If we're going to go with it, let's go factual about it. Because from my understanding and from what I've seen how things go with true crime, and they're not, you might, luckily, somebody might have an inside source somewhere here and there. But the bigger picture, somebody that's involved in the investigation is not going to go out to a YouTube creator and say, this and that's happening and this is the truth, because what's the point of that? Why would you do that? I mean, it makes no sense. So it's a slippery slope, and that's why we've been very fortunate because of how we handle information, that the private investigators did actually contact us and say, hey, you can be our voice for stuff when we put things out, or when law enforcement gives us something to put out, or like Trace Labs when they were brought in. Nita Diver came to our channel first and said, hey, we want to get involved. We got them on some properties, private properties that we had been searching on that were in the area of Beach Creek where Summer lives. And we got them to these ponds that you couldn't even see from Google Maps, and we're able to clear those. When we go on ground searches, we're very careful of what, we can't talk about what we find until, because it all gets turned over to law enforcement, then they clear it. And then after they clear it, you still have to make sure that, because, there is sometimes information that law enforcement ain't always perfect. They can miss something. And then you go put it out there to the public, and then it's everywhere. So we're very careful with how we handle that kind of stuff. And it's really proven, like this is what we've said, and I'll shut up after I say this, but this is one thing that we're not always going to have the number one greatest news and the next big thing that comes out, but we promise you that we'll give you facts. We promise you that we'll give you stuff that you can actually use, and it's been a slow growth. We're not like the other ones you talked about on Bigfoot Odyssey, Danielle. There's a lot of channels that have sprouted up and just went
in
into
no time.
Yeah, no times, triple digit subscribers.
Because they're not adding anything more they're not adding any more facts to what they're saying. These shows, they're just speculating, spending time speculating, creating drama, creating theories, and it's not good in a way for the people following it. When because you end up kind of controlling the mood of whether you think these people have done it or they haven't, whether someone's guilty or not, and you can really influence people with a big channel with big numbers. And like I said, it's different over here, but like the Brian Laundrie, people protesting outside their house on the edge of their garden with like megaphones, demanding where Gabby was. I mean, over here, people would get arrested for doing that. It would be called harassment, and you get arrested and taken away. From whoever you're asking, a restraining order put on you. But over there, people can do that. I mean,
they were streaming the house. That's someone's private residence.
Drone over the house.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, this is like going too far for me.
The same person that had that drone over Brian Laundrie's house came to Summer Wells' house and brought that drone down to the back door window and was hovering right there, and they had a big problem with that. Like, that's invasion of privacy with that. And who knows where they were at. Now, I'm not saying that this particular channel has brought, I don't want to bash them or say nothing bad, because they just found Noah Clark or something. They're called Nerdy Addict is the name of it, but they pushed the envelope on TBI to put out that Amber Alert, and that resulted in that little boy being found. That they did do that, but then there at the same time, you could have went to the correct measures. I know a lot of people involved with this case. If they would have just asked, they probably could have come in there and done what they wanted to.
Right.
Droning. But just like you said with Brian Laundrie's case, you can go out there and with a megaphone in Florida and do that stuff. But you come up here to the Hill Mountains of Tennessee and you come out on people's property, it's probably not going to be handled. There is actually a law that they can shoot first and ask questions later. So,
same up here.
Yep.
Yeah, Alaska's rough.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be a place for that nonsense.
Yeah, I noticed Danielle was muted, but again, particularly when you get out to like places like Tennessee, or Alaska, like that's the thing that people don't understand. There are really violent crimes that occur in the woods, right? I mean, people have this idea like moonshine, right? Like, oh, well, these moonshiners are just some good old boys out there. It's like, no, these are criminals, and they will kill you, and they will come on your property to mix their illegal moonshine that has all kinds of crap in it, and can likely kill you, because that still happens. And if you find them on your property, you best shoot first, because they will absolutely kill you.
Yeah.
So I mean, people don't get it. It's like when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have to shoot first sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy to people, but it's like, well, life is hard when the nearest road is 5 miles away.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
There's just so many crazy crimes going on that just seem.
Well, and with her, like I kind of touched on a little bit on Bigfoot Odyssey, but with that community down there, the way where the Beach Creek community is what they call it, and this goes back. These are the same families that have owned this land, policed this land, and going back to the 1800s and before, probably. I think that there was some gangs that are affiliated with it. It's the Dykes family, the Lights family, and I mean they own everything. The roads, cemeteries. They don't. That's the problem we're having. They're not going to speak. If it has anything to do with any one of their family members, you're not ever going to find out anything because they're not going to. I don't care what the reward is for summer. They're not going to talk. And and you would think this is another problem. You would think that trail cams, all these people hunt back there. You think their trail cams, there was nothing, not a thing, not a picture, an image, anything captured for her, and she went through multiple properties where the footprints were found. Okay, so her property, a mile, almost 0.8, I think 0.8 of a mile was the first single footprint on a guy's yard. He came out and spoke about it at the beginning of this case on Facebook, and people completely attacked him to the point he took down everything. So that's credible information. But then because let's face it, and I hate to be like this, when the public pointed their fingers at the parents, public enemy number one, anything else didn't matter. We've had people say that even if Don and Candace doesn't get found guilty, they're still going to say they're guilty. Heard that in my comments.
Yeah.
Many times I'm like, that is a problem that when we live in I don't want to go off subject that way, but with the footprints being found, okay, a single footprint, the scent is hit, the scent dogs alert on that footprint, and then there's no trail, no path, no adult tracks with it, nothing. Then you go 3/4 of a mile away, going up a ridge up into the woods, there's another single footprint of hers. This dog's alert on that scent, nothing after that. What's happened? I don't understand there's no scent trail, nothing. So we have the scent at the bottom of the driveway, what they call the dog trail on her property. Then you have 0.8 mile, another single footprint, and then 3/4 of another mile. What is a 5-year-old doing traveling that kind of distance? And where did she go? 110 agencies, search and rescue professionals come in, and there's nothing. I just don't think that. I don't know if I should put my opinion in here because my channel is based off factual, but I mean, and everybody has their own opinion.
You're entitled to an opinion.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, but I just don't see that the parents having the ability to outsmart that many search and rescue. I'm having a problem seeing that. I've met them. I know them. The parents. Talk to them. It's different when you see somebody on something like on the internet or on a news media interview than talking to them face to face and seeing how they conduct themselves and knowing it.
Well, wasn't that the case in David Paulides? Like, I think it was the 411 The Hunted, where there was a family that was dealing with it. They lost their small child, and the people focused on the parents instead of the potential of what else could have happened to that poor child out there.
Is that the case you're talking about, Dior Kuntz in Idaho?
Yes.
Yeah, and they have actually finally cleared those parents.
Oh, thank goodness.
And because that's kind of the same thing we're going here. We have the trial by media and trial by the public court.
Opinion. Yeah.
Look, Addy Overman makes a good point. People here in the area are judging some as parents due to the life that they live, and their acting out on YouTube isn't helping them. I mean, I agree. All this publicity, it's so mixed, isn't it? And so many opinions being formed by the way they're acting, body language, the behavior panel have done an interview. I mean,
yeah,
it's like crazy. I've never known anything. It just doesn't happen over here. People just get, locked up or on remand till they go to court or it gets sorted out, and that's it. You go to prison or you get set free. There's none of this. Interviews,
it's hard though when, like, I don't know how I would act if something happened to my kid. I don't think anybody would want to deal with me under those circumstances. I could pretty much assure that,
Oh yeah, well, and particularly when you know people are saying, well, it's got to be you, and particularly if you are innocent and you know people are looking at you as the guilty party. I mean, you definitely lash out. Now, that being said, I know nothing about this particular case, so let me ask you, just because I know nothing, let me ask a couple questions of some of the things you said, Cam. So you're saying that you've spoken with the family. You don't believe that these people would necessarily be capable of eluding the people involved, right?
Right.
You then mentioned that they were tracking the scent of the girl. How far in totality were they able to track her?
Okay, so and these are different gaps now. This is the thing. So her from the house down to the bottom of the driveway, the dogs tracked the scent to there. And when we looked at and then you go an eighth of them. Okay, so they didn't track the scent to the next set of footprints. There was nothing. It stops there at the bottom of the driveway. Okay. Then 0.8 of a mile, there's another one. The dogs alert just on her scent right there. Law enforcement says it has to be within the time that she's went missing that track. That's what they tell the landowner. He reports that. Then so there's no scent path for them to follow. Then there's another footprint 3/4 of a mile away from that 0.8. So, and it's just there. And they haven't disclosed the direction of travel, but I'm guessing, I mean, if we put the information we have away from the house, going whatever direction that they're up into the woods, and then it just stops. So, yeah, I'll let you if that answered that right, but so that's what we have there as far as that information. And that all got swept under the rug at the beginning. So it's just now coming back out. Me and my wife talked about it at the beginning. Nobody wanted to hear it. But now it's a big deal. Going on 5 months.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of again, I'm not a true crime guy. That's not my thing. But that being said, I find it hard to believe that a 5-year-old, let me phrase this, 5-year-old girl, I find it hard to believe that somebody outside the family comes and kidnaps her, throws her in a car, and then just takes and sticks her out, and just like, boom, trackway. Drives a little bit, boom, trackway. Like that doesn't seem right.
No.
So, and it doesn't seem like some 5-year-old girl is going to do something to avoid leaving trackways and scent paths that trained dogs aren't going to be able to pick up on.
Exactly.
So there is clearly an outside source, but it would be the source doing something off. Like something's not right here.
But there's not an adult scent. There's not tracks from an adult, anything like that. This is the exact words of the landowner. It's like she was carried, sat down for a minute, then picked back up, carried, sat down for a minute. That's what almost it sounds like. That's what he said, and law enforcement had discussed. And if I wanted to go back on what you said about the behavior panel, now this is so the law enforcement just released after 5 months yesterday, which I don't understand why it took them this long, that all 3 adults involved. Okay, so we have 5 people. 3 boys, 2 adults. That's the mother, grandma, and the 3 brothers at the home when Summer disappeared. Both those adults passed polygraphs, and the father passed the polygraph. Now, yes, I know that they're not admissible in court, but if you fail one, you're fried. So, let's just be honest about that. But so the behavior panel sits down with Don first. They say he's being truthful. 4 to 1, 4 experts to say he's truthful. Then they sit down with Candace, and there was that whole cornbread mafia thing, which is ridiculous. They said they brought in that name. She had never heard. Dawn said, "What?"
Yeah,
Well, we refer to them as the cornbread mafia where we live. She gets upset, and so what Dr. Phil said on that episode said was, "We feel like you have information that you might know something that you don't know that you know," and I'm like, what is that?
take a while to work that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We're
so
still doing the math on that one.
This, I'm just going to put this up. Texas Jack says it's hard to imagine a right way to act in those circumstances. When I said about,
thank you.
Yeah.
and you know why? It's because everyone says it. Well, if it was me, I'd be, well, like saying your child go missing, I'd be out there. I'd be searching everywhere. I mean, you might feel like that, but that maybe isn't how that happens. Maybe you're told to stay in one place. Maybe other people looking. There's so many circumstances and reasons. But people tend to go, well, I wouldn't react like that, and because they're not doing that immediately, people just can't understand. They must be guilty, if they're not responding the way that they want them to, or they imagine they would. So,
Candace and Dawn
completely in shock. I'm just saying, when you're in shock and something like that happens, who knows how you're going to react.
Candace and Dawn, go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, speaking from, I can't be too direct on this, but let me tell you from personal experience, when you go through something like that, you have no idea what you're going to go through, what your reaction would be unless you've actually been through it. People say, well, I would do it this way. You don't have a damn idea as to how you would react until you're put into it. I have seen grown men completely collapse. I have seen mothers just turn off.
Uh-huh.
I have seen, I gotta be, damn it. You don't know until you've been through it, so shut your damn mouth.
That's
period.
Right. That's right.
Now, that being said, there are people can behave suspiciously. We had a crime here in Dallas like 3 years ago where everyone in the city was like, it's the parent. Like, we know him, and it was the child was found 2 blocks away in a culvert. And we knew because we watched the guy. We're like, yeah, no, that's not normal. But there's a broad range here. And if you think someone freaking the F out is out of that range or shutting down, you've never been through this. You've never seen anyone go through this. Shut your damn face.
Yeah. Well, you got to take into account too that Candace doesn't come from, and Dawn either come from a life of luxury. They've went through hardships their whole life. Candace has a story that nobody knows that she's told me and my wife that is heartbreaking. That's happened to her. So when you go through a life of just everything negative happening, you have a hard heart. You have emotions. Sometimes you don't show emotions the way people want you to show them. I went through that for a long time with my life. I have a past. I had a chip on my shoulder for a long time. But it's like, Candace already doesn't like to be on camera. We know that. She was when she first did her first interview when Summer went missing, people made fun of the way she looked, the way her hair was, the way her teeth were. They spoke so awful about this woman. And she said, I'll never again get on camera again. So when she goes to Dr. Phil, he gave her a whole mouthful of veneers. He fixed her teeth. He tried to help her. And she tried to give her a little self-confidence about herself. But
we judged too quick. Is the bottom line? Is we judged far too quick before. I know we make judgments every day, not quite the same thing, but we have to make decisions based on things around us. But when it comes to something that you don't personally know, or you can't get into, you're not talking direct to the person, it's absolutely pointless. You're sitting there and trying to judge something. There's just no point to it unless you know some facts. And it's easy to, I'm not saying you're making judgments here. Addie says, I personally don't know the gossip, but the gossip is that they're alcohol and drugs addicted. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who are hurting in life and have really, really bad issues that alcohol and drugs is maybe their only friend. And that might sound, crazy to some or whatever, but There's this, alcohol's legal. It's not
Yeah.
like but actually it's a disease. It's something that people have and can't, use it as a crutch because they have problems. It's not because they're bad people and people who take drugs.
Right.
I
That
mean,
doesn't mean that you hurt your child either.
Mhm.
Just because you have, yeah.
Yeah, you might have been hurt as a child, and you take drugs to comfort yourself because of that. I mean, there's so
They
many
could be chronic
reasons.
pain patients. They could be. There's an assortment. Like there's a lot of things people do not take into consideration, and it's absolutely dismissive, and it's
People haven't got to
heartbreaking.
see, people haven't got to see the fact that, though, if you look back at the pictures, and I saw this, and I had to admit this. Like, I saw pictures of Candace doing stuff with her children consistently, all the time, had them out doing stuff with them, and I said, she does more with her kids than I do with mine. And I was like that. So we know, and again, I'm speaking on a personal. I've met her. I've talked to her. She's cried tears with my wife. I've seen this side of her, so it's kind of hard for me. But I try to still stay on the line of, I have to be I have to be not biased. I have to not be. I have to go. And we've said this from when I went up on the property. I said, Don, when I met him, I said, I have to go wherever the evidence goes, regardless of how I meet you and how I feel about you. And he said, I appreciate that, and I want you to be like that. And I was like, wow, said a lot to me. So he knows it's the first shred of evidence that it goes one way, I have to go that way. And she knows that too, but they continue. They've had a really bad run-in with YouTubers here lately, and people have seen the bad side of what has happened through that. They have made appearances and been intoxicated on YouTube, but again, who's to say how we would react if our child? I know I would be a mess. I would have already been probably in jail for going and thinking somebody did something to my child and doing drastic, because I mean, I try to step back and say, hey, what if I was in those shoes? And that's some people can't do that. I understand that.
As well, a lot of these channels are taking advantage because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have someone coming on here who was drunk, not because they were drunk, but because they've got issues and they're in that state. I wouldn't do that to them.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just not a time where you want to do a YouTube show.
Drama sells.
And, well, unless it's educational or whatever. But why put someone who's in that state through that? It's not fair.
Really hurting.
It's exploitation. That's what this is.
Yeah. They're right.
And I'm without getting into any specifics, but I think most people are going to know what I'm talking about because there's plenty of evidence in any direction. Whether it's mainstream media or even a YouTube channel, we know we're not getting all the facts. Period. On any of these cases, right? We just got done watching a trial of a young man that if you watched the mainstream media, you would have been flabbergasted by what came out in court because everything that you were told was wrong.
Right.
Here's the problem. It's not just that one case. It is literally every case at every event that you've ever been told. Anything that's ever been put on the mainstream media they've manipulated it one way or another because they don't care about the facts. They care about ratings. And even now, it's pretty obvious they don't even care about ratings. They care about a narrative. Well, guess what? YouTube can be the same way. So the problem is everyone's making up their mind on the things that the idiot box is telling them a particular narrative. And even though they know that the idiot box has a narrative that they want to put forward, whether it's real or not, they're still buying into it. And I know I do from time to time. I'm like, well, man, that looks like a whatever. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I know for a fact that the media is lying on all these other things. Why would I trust it on this one?
Yeah.
Right. And so the problem is we have all these people making these snap decisions, and we have the YouTubers because running out and they're exploiting this family. They're exploiting their pain for clicks, ad bait. It's ratings. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And when you have people in such a volatile and sensitive and vulnerable emotional state, they're very easily exploited.
Yeah, and you don't take advantage if you've got anything about you.
When you have a channel
that people don't.
Right. And when you have a channel that will literally have one of the parents on and charge super chats to ask that parent questions, that's a problem.
Oh, that's
Then we've seen that go through this, and if they now have changed their name from true crime to crime drama. So when I saw this happening, and I even spoke to the parents, I said, "Do you know that they were making money off it?" He said, "What?" I said, "They were paying to ask you those questions." And he's like, I had no idea about that. And I said, and this was the thing that he told me now. He said, I don't care what they think about me as long as it keeps my daughter's name out there. But the thing is, as if we really take it seriously as content creators, a lot of people are turning away from mainstream media and getting information on YouTube. If you do it the right way, you can give factual information out just how it is, instead of the twist and the entertainment side of it that everybody, because it's not entertainment. This is people's real lives. These are people that they go through hurt and pain, and it's the ones that the mainstream media deems worthy to make a high profile case out of.
Right.
It's very similar really to what we're doing on Bigfoot Odyssey, and like
just gonna say that, yeah.
We're trying to give people a platform to say what they need to say in a safe environment, not to exploit these people, but to create that community on and that stronger foundation of like there's something going on out there, and here's another kind of story to go with that, to put down with that. And that's the thing, we're trying to raise awareness about Bigfoot, not to get loads of clicks and likes, because it's not, you need to, there has to be a draw a line.
There's a difference between education and entertainment. There is a clear difference, and the information that's provided, and the motives and intentions behind what that person is actually have their channel for.
If you're making money on YouTube, it's like a byproduct to what you're doing. If you're, especially when you're just trying to do the good thing, not trying to make the money, that just comes naturally with it. You can't help that as a part of the YouTube thing. But it's just like, I'm sorry, but there's some channels out there literally milking it, and it's horrible. I've unsubscribed to so many channels over this last year with these high profile cases that have come up, and there just came a point, like a light bulb moment, where I went, hang on, this is just another opportunity for them to make a load of money, because they're making a lot. Just like you said, the super chats, $100, $200 super chats. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Amount of money, and what are these people doing?
Well, there's a
Does any of it go to that family?
Nope.
Well, you'd like to think that it's got to cost something for that.
There's a difference between there's a difference between getting, YouTube's a free enterprise. There's a difference, but the hard work you put into a case and getting paid by YouTube and then exploiting a case for money that way. There's a difference. Now, if you're on YouTube and you're creating content that and you're because I can speak for myself as a true crime creator. When you do research and you put work into, you're putting a lot of work into it. It takes a lot of time and energy. You're on the phone constantly. I never thought going into it would be like that. Now, when you get paid by the open market of YouTube, okay, whatever. But when there's a difference when you have parents on and without their knowledge, and especially putting them on in an inebriated state like that. We all have discernment. We have the ability before we hit the live button up here that we can say, hey, are you sure this probably ain't a good time to do this? Let's do it. But they know that drama is going to sell. So, and it's going to cause problems. And then we go into left field with all this that doesn't matter, when we should be back 5 months ago paying attention to what evidence of when this little girl went missing and trying to find her, not what the parents are doing today. You know what I mean?
And when you said they were essentially selling, taking chats to ask questions of the father, that is the most exploitive, trashy thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in that's just obscene.
So insensitive.
Well, and it's clearly exploitative. So, but so here's the thing, though, and worse off is YouTube's algorithms are promoting those kinds of things because because again, YouTube doesn't care either. I agree with Kim. I agree with you where it's like, hey, if you're doing the right thing on the channel and you naturally get people to come to you, yeah, the money can happen.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between earning it and then exploiting a tragic situation for your benefit.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing is people are exploiting this family in this situation. It's terrible.
Well, like it says, you do something that you love and the money will come naturally. It's like any career that I picked. It was something that I was passionate about. And, the money just came because it was something I loved, and that's natural. But when, when you're exploiting, like you said, Jason and Daniela, it's just,
it takes time to build up to even earn
Yes.
anything off these channels. It takes a long time to build it
That's
up. Like say
right.
with the content of that. But I've seen them just like I say, milking it, and it's horrible to see. And it's taking away what the whole point is
Right. And
to find people and help people. So,
derailing the whole, focus.
I've been asked by the parents multiple times to come on my channel, and I won't allow it and I told them, I said, I don't want to I said, you have enough channels that will do that for you. And I said, and my suggestion was to quit talking to them. So I said, just stop talking to them. And there's been also things with the media that says, let's not make Summer an icon. What? Let's definitely make Summer an icon because that's what this is about. But as soon as Summer's found, and that there's nothing for the other channels to talk about then after that. And that's ridiculous mindset to have. Let's find her.
Yeah. Like that would be a blessing, if she's, found. And either regardless, there's, closure for the parents one way or the other, and the family and their friends. And,
if we continue like what we were talking about, and I know there's people y'all talk about everything over here, and that's all. This my wife just walked in. She does the channel with me, but she back to what we were talking about even on Bigfoot Odyssey. If we can bring these communities together, and there's bunches of communities on YouTube. There's over 9 million creators or more on YouTube that we looked up the other day. So if we can get these people together, and I think that we have to admit about like the people go missing all the time, that there's no explanation for it. There's no rhyme or reason. That I think it has to be taken seriously because there's still people out there that will dismiss that theory. Even David Politis, with all the truth that he comes out with, they will dismiss that and say that's not true. Like I had a comment the other day on a search video. We were actually allowed to release some of the stuff we had filmed on searches, and we put it out, and we were out in the sticks, and somebody commented and said that is some squatchy looking area. And it really was. And I told my wife that while we were out in there doing it, I said, it was like I don't know how everybody believes it or how your beliefs are in structures and stuff, but it looked like blinds that were built sticks. I mean, everywhere. And this mountainside, there was trees that had uprooted and fallen completely over because it was steep. And you want to add in on that? Because you said it too. I mean, it was just, it really looked like it. Well, somebody commented, and she said on first of her comments, she said, I know this will get deleted because of what I'm saying. And I said, no, I made sure that I didn't delete it. But that we have to stop that mindset of everything, that you dismiss people and think they're crazy because you don't understand what they've had happen. I had the same holdbacks on me this week planning to come on Bigfoot Odyssey. I love you guys. I watch it all the time, every day. That's when I'm not doing true crime. I'm on Bigfoot stuff on YouTube. And I watched y'all's documentary, Jason. I recognized you when I came on when you did All Dust Beast. I saw that the other day. But and it was good, and I appreciated the prayer you brought into it before you did what y'all did. We pray on our show too, but that's what it takes. We're not people out here that have had things happen to them are not completely crazy. They just things have happened to us that we don't sometimes can't explain and understand, and other people want to just dismiss you. That's not fair. And hopefully, if more people will speak out and push the envelope on game wardens, law enforcement, and everything, maybe we'll get answers to some things. That's what.
Yeah. I just want to get this up. Bayo Flats. Some people may misunderstand. Polaris never said Sasquatch was the reason.
Exactly.
No, he's never said that. But why is he at Bigfoot conferences selling his book and doing his talks?
He's wrote many books on the Hooper Project and
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not saying it, but he's in this community. Why?
And in some of the stories that he does present, you're like, okay, so let me say this. I do agree with him saying because he doesn't know that it's Bigfoot, right? No. He's not leading you that way, but you understand that he's telling you that he's giving the information that there are plenty of these stories that are so far outside of the usual domain that it's like we need to understand that there are different events happening. We call them paranormal, call them whatever, but they are outside the norm. They are not your usual. It's not a big cat. It's not some crazy dude. There's something else going on with a lot of these stories, and we often don't understand how many of these events are happening all the time. I've mentioned this a lot of times on Texas channel, but I have a friend used to be high up in the Dallas Police Department. He's a former homicide cop. I've run this whole thing past him. The how many people go missing every year? How much of that is like people actually going missing versus runaways or people who just have said, screw it, I'm done, and just leave and don't tell anybody. I actually had that happen to a guy I knew years ago. And so we run through it all, and he's like the most conservative estimate he would have on that whole number. He said easily half the people they go missing every year. Half of those are legitimate. Everyone else is just, and again, that includes people that we know were murdered, people who we know were kidnapped. We can account for this. It's like the stuff that we really can't account for. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The stuff we can account for is half of the remaining half, right? They're like, there's the stuff that we know that happened. That takes up about half of those missing persons. That remaining half, about half of that's just him being conservative, is stuff that we have no idea what happened. And he says, and he'll be the first one to tell you, it gets weird fast when you start looking at that stuff. And that's what Plays is saying. That's what you're saying. All we're saying is, hey, let's start asking other questions here. I ran across a quote the other day, and I loved it. And I think it defines what we're doing over at Texas channel. I think what's happening over at Odyssey as well. And I think with this whole sort of group that we're building is coming to ask, it's this basic question. A candlestick maker, the greatest candlestick maker in the world, could never have dreamt of the light bulb.
Right.
And the problem is we have all these little groups. We got the paranormal group, we got the Sasquatch group, we got the ancient aliens group, we got the Christians over here, we got the dinosaur people over here. We kind of need to say, hold on, maybe we need to start comparing notes here. The quote I will say until the end of time is, we don't know what Bigfoot is, so we don't know what it isn't.
Right.
And so it's like, the whole thing with Dave Plays has never said what is or is not Bigfoot, because he doesn't know. Maybe it's all Bigfoot. Maybe none of it's Bigfoot. But maybe the other problem is Bigfoot doesn't mean what we think it means.
Well, when you have stories like David Ply, that like I saw somebody here, he was here in our area at the Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg just a few months ago. What was it, in June or July? He was here. I think one of the key points he was talking on I didn't get to go to it, wanted to go so bad. Scott Carpenter, everybody was there. Carrie was there. But he was talking about a bear does not pick up a child with its paw and carry it away and shine its shoes, clean the kid's shoes. Yeah. And brought it back. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think that there's things that, we have a young child. What is she going to explain? The one thing that pops in their mind that they've seen pictures of is a bear that's hairy. Yep. You can't, and I want to touch on what you just said. When there is so many key, I'm not saying that all these different communities are wrong. They have a lot of good stuff that is accurate. But if it came together, maybe people would stop the conflict, just like the true crime community, creators conflicting. Bigfoot community has people conflicting on who's right and who's wrong. If that would stop and people would have an open mind, because even though you're open-minded to the Bigfoot scenario, you're closed-minded to what everybody else thinks, not just because, and that's wrong.
Yes.
We don't know what it is. And
this is a problem where
very well said.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Where people think they're so open-minded, they're so closed off.
That's right.
To what's right in front of them. They've formed this way of thinking where they think they're listening to everything, and that they're not. They've already got biases and judgments and opinions before they even start. I mean, it's crystal clear to me. I see it a lot. People don't see it in themselves for some reason. It's strange.
It's a human fallacy, but this actually all ties into what Iron Dogger and Danielle and I were talking about before the show. The statistics, right? When if your data is incorrect in one way or another, you either don't have sufficient data or your data is skewed. If you're not looking at the right data, then you don't ever come to the right conclusion. And that's the problem, is with all these partitions, we're not getting the best information or the best data. How can you come to the right decision, the right conclusion? We don't even know what we're looking for half the time, right? Yeah. I mean, I've used this, and people don't really, don't always get it. But it's like, imagine if one person let's call it Bob the Cryptid, but they were looking at a deer, and then the other person was calling something Bob the Cryptid, but it was a wolf. And we tried to make those two work. We'd never find anything.
Yeah.
Because we have people calling different things the same name. Well, you're never going to, we'd be lucky to find a ferret.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, we came across this. We're going to declare the ferret Bob the Cryptid because this is what we figured you could work with. We would never get anywhere. And that's why I think we are kind of where we are. We're calling different things the same thing because we all want to fight over this name Bigfoot, or maybe we want Bigfoot, but we don't like the UFO connection, because there's a UFO connection whether we like it or not.
No.
Now, why that exists is that's the question. Why do we have people telepathically talking to them? Why do we have them kidnapping kids? I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, what we have is a bunch of phenomena, but we're walling ourselves off, and so we can't get anywhere because we're not really getting good data.
And then you have people that are communicating with them yet aren't able to get photos and clear photos and
things like that. Right. And you got the telephone on a string scenario. Once it goes from this person to that person to this person, things are left out, things are added on by the time it gets to the correct person, because then this is the problem that people that should be taking it seriously, like the government that should be taking these reports word for word from that person, do not. They dismiss it. So then they have to tell whoever is around them, and then that story grows. And then by the time it gets back to whoever is really going to take it seriously and discuss it, then who knows how many parts have been added into it.
And local lore. Local lore is another thing where, I mean, when I was working on my last book, this is the thing that really shook my mind, was when I looked at all the local lore. But when you had it side by side, you're like, hold up, they're all just copying and pasting from the Jim Mars articles from the Lake Worth Monster. So it's like, once you realize, hold on, even the local lore is probably contaminated from something else entirely. Well, that person who's talking to you, if they've even subconsciously brought in that local lore, then when they're telling you something secondhand, it's already contaminated beyond use. And so we're not talking to the original person who's telling us what they actually encountered. We're getting folktale.
There's researchers and there's repeaters. Exactly. And there's a massive difference in that. Just going and looking at an article and reading it is not research. And there's I'm not an expert because I don't do it because I don't have the time, and this is why I don't do a lot of the stuff that I want to do on this channel, because at the moment I don't have the time. because you need to really look into things deeply and go to the sources if you can. Go straight to the source, because you could just be talking complete and utter rubbish. You could just be repeating utter rubbish. Because somebody who says, who sounds like they've put something good together, how do you know? How do you know that's truth? We don't. We just repeat what we think is right. And how do you know?
Yeah. And then if they have a group that trusts them, those people are automatically going to believe whatever has been said just out of that trust. I mean, that's natural, human. When you listen to something from someone that you actually trust, you're like, okay, well, that has credence, without double checking it. A lot of times people won't double check that information, even if it's from someone that, they trust. And so there's a lot of that going on.
We
look
tell
at Facebook. Sorry, but look at Facebook. It'll be a picture of something, and it'll be this quote of so many people. And it's like the real deal. Someone's just put that on a picture, some quote on a picture, and suddenly that makes it real.
It's like the missing Alaska, all the missing in Alaska. It's like we were talking about the statistics, and like Jason was saying, they don't take into account all the people that came back, that were found, that were, it's just, if you just put out the number, look, all these people go missing in Alaska. Yeah, of course. There's hunters that don't come back from their trips on time, things like that. And they get reported missing, but they do come back, things like that. But yes, we do have missing.
Me and Carrie had a discussion the other day, and I said, we try to tell people this on our channel too. It's don't take it because I said it. You go research it and then research it again. Do your own research and come to your own understanding. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's true. And just because that person says it doesn't. But research it and get your own truth. I saw something that happened, for example, in the chat just now when I was talking about there's been multiple things about children being taken by a bear and then coming back, and this bear kept them warm at night. The one in Cades Cove is the one that she was referring to in the chat, where the child never came back, and they were spotted carrying the hairy man on two legs carrying a child over his shoulder, and that was reported, and they had a ground search, and they even brought the Green Berets in. They did their own search apart from it. That was a big deal. Never found nothing on that. But that's just how things can be mixed up. I should have been more clear about which bear encounter I was talking about. But that's how quickly that it can be, and I wanted to tell you guys, thank you. I'm honored to be a part of this. This is a good discussion. This is what it should be about.
Yeah, it's a really good discussion.
I'm so pleased we've connected.
Yeah.
Just for many reasons, but especially for this, that absolutely there could be some sort of connection in Bigfoot, missing people,
come over here
and just all the strangeness, this
Can we say hi to Mrs. Cam?
Yeah, you can say that. Now you put you on the spot. Come here.
I want to say hello. I want to say
just got off work.
Hi.
She's coming over here.
Hi.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Never mind. Knocked over a cup of water. It's okay.
Hey, listen. I've never asked you. I should have asked you, and I wanted to ask you: how did you even get into this?
Ooh.
How did we?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just normal, sitting, laying in the bed at nighttime, watching the news, watching the things on True Crime YouTube, and my wife said we ought to send that family some flowers and show them that there is people that are not full of hate against them. So, like I said, our saying before we get off of every show is, at the end of the day, everybody wants justice, but justice doesn't have to be carried out with hate. So we came into this, and I do, I do believe in God 100%. I believe if you go into things with a good heart, pure of heart, that doors will open for you. And we never thought that it would grow to that. The private investigators have involved us, and the family actually invited us up and said, please come film our property, because There was another creator that went and only showed one side of what he wanted you to see. He didn't mention that when he filmed the inside of this house, that law enforcement had flipped it 7 times by that point. And when they flip a house, it looks destructive. You're going to get tired of picking up a mess, and they go through and pull everything out. So he made sure he went up there and filmed it at the worst point in time.
Right.
So, but besides that, we went up there and we gave it, Don said, what about this? Film this. What about that? Film this. What about this trail leading to the house? This trail. I said, how come nobody's done it? He said, I have told every single one of these people that came up here about it, and they didn't care to listen to me. And I said, well, I'm listening to you. And I said, we're gonna give it the whole story and not just parts of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we do everything perfect and that we're right, but we are going to give everybody a fair shake, and we're going to go in with compassion and treat people as we want to be treated.
That's the word I was going to say, is to have a bit of compassion, because I'm not saying they're guilty. I'm not talking about those people in particular, but things happen. A killer isn't always a nasty, evil, sadistic person. Accidents happen sometimes. And with your kids, with whatever, it's not a crime of of deliberately trying to kill someone. And when these accidents happen, it's difficult. I mean, I don't know how people will react, but a lot of it is judgment on what's going to happen to their kids if they come forward with this. I mean, it's not the right thing to do, but this is what people do. They will do their best to protect their other kids, their families, their whatever. It's a sad thing to do, but this is reality. And so you have to, give people a chance to.
We live in a poverty.
Tell the truth.
We live in a very poverty-stricken area. There's not a lot of money that comes into these places. All in this area were old coal camps. The industry has moved out of here. There's not a lot of. There is a lot of people. See, what people didn't share about Don and Candace was that they live on 11 acres that was passed down to them through family. That house has been there for God knows how long. There's people now, since this case has started, have went in and tried to help remodel the inside of the house to help for the boys to have a better life. There's lots of things that haven't been touched on that the media chooses not to talk about. Then there's this part too, that the sheriff of Hawkins County just released, that he said there is no signs of abduction, but we're not ruling it out. And he said there is no signs of foul play. So when he said, nobody mentioned this when they reported. I have the report on my channel in our community section. But he says there is no foul play. So if you have an accident and you move a body, that is then foul play.
Right.
You do. Yeah. So there's lots that go into that little two words there, foul play. That rules out a lot when he says that. But when he also says abduction, but we're not ruling it out, why is there still an active Amber Alert out for? Because there's criteria that goes into an Amber Alert that falls under abduction. So that's why we chose, when we were laying, I would literally lay here at night before we start a channel and I would be yelling at the TV, well, why aren't they saying this? Because I knew that they weren't giving us everything.
Yeah. So, well, it goes back to what we were talking about, the narrative, the news media, whether it's YouTube or popular media, they have a narrative that they want to go with, and they're going to straight out lie to us about all of these things.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question, because something you said I find very interesting. Like you said, they're not ruling out, they're not thinking abduction, but they haven't ruled it out. Is there's a legal... Obviously, is there a legal jargon in there that would make it not abduction if it was maybe say by an animal? Is that's a very good, that my wife just went like this, and I said that's a very good point. We've never thought of that. So, okay, I will tell you this, and this is what I thought is weird, and I've been very careful what I said. Like I said, to not introduce the two subjects together, but. When the 110 agencies came in here, they put a FLIR camera up on a pole.
and it's still up there, and they're still watching. So 5 months of a little girl being out in the wilderness, there's no way 5-year-old is
Yeah,
still.
she's
So what are they looking for? What are they watching on that FLIR camera? On this, in multiple helicopter flyovers. So, that's the good thing about where me and my wife stand. She stands more on the side of. I'm not, like I said, on the Bigfoot Odyssey. She is a believer now because she went through the things we went through, but at the same time, she has a very what's the word for it, mind, and I'm more of a. I try to look at everything. She's more
critical thinker.
Yeah,
objective, and
right. And I can't think the exact maybe, but what would you say? I don't know. Anyway, but anyway, I hope you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
My mind
she's
is
over there.
more-
She thinks right, and
Yeah.
you keep your mouth
more
closed.
analytical.
Yeah, there you go. And so then there's that, and then there's nobody. They have never came out and said who all 110 agencies were. I didn't know there was 110 different agencies. Who are they?
Yeah.
Never said who they were. There's a few of them that have been said, but so I pay attention to those things, and I'm like, why do you have a FLIR camera up? It's probably a pretty real expensive
Advanced one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see through, and there's been drones that have been flying that can pick up the purple because see, they said what was the outfit she was wearing, the gray sweatsuit.
No, it was a pink shirt
and a gray sweatpants that had a sweatsuit jacket, but the jacket was left at home. They can pick up on these drone cameras the purple, or just say like a purple petal of a flower down in the middle of all that foliage.
Mm-hmm.
They can pick that up. They brought those out here. They were looking, and for them to just have nothing, it's mind-blowing to me. And so they said this is one thing I will say that I disagreed with law enforcement about. They said they searched in a 5-mile radius in every direction over the time they were here, a 5-mile radius. We have been on searches on properties and came across something that was not even a half a mile away that turned it into law enforcement. I said, how does 110 agencies miss this?
4 people.
And 4 people found it.
Yeah.
And there's a few things. So when they said that there's a big channel they're not exactly a channel, but they are a channel too. They're called Adventures with Purpose. They're divers.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I love those guys. Yeah.
So
Good
we
group.
we were trying to get them involved. They had reached out to law enforcement without us knowing ahead of time, and law enforcement said, there is no need for you to come out there. She is not in the water. I said, how can you make that claim? How can you tell them that she's not? What if you don't know anything? How can you tell them? So I pushed the envelope on that, and I got another dive team called Need a Diver to come in here.
Oh, right.
And we got them on those private properties where those ponds that you can't see from Google Maps and Google. We came across multiple ones. So we're pushing the envelope on them. We're saying, hey, if you're going to say it, let's be factual and let's tell the whole thing.
Well, hold on. How in the hell can they say they know she's not in the water if you don't know where she is?
Right.
Exactly.
They obviously know something.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
there's too many bodies of water around here to say you searched every one of them. And
they don't all have the equipment like Adventures with Purpose have. You know,
No.
how many places have they been to where it's been searched and they've
by
gone
law enforcement and cleared and then found it.
Yes. They've closed cases that were decades old. You know,
it's funny. I was going to mention them before as a channel, like up there with like the best, the most genuine guys doing really sensitive. You know, if starts off just looking for cars and stuff, end up finding missing people in cars that have got it. You know, it's just amazing what they do and how they do it. It's just incredible, and you can just tell they wear the hearts on the sleeves, don't they? That they're in it for the people, like 100%.
I've got something that'll blow your mind even more too. So when Need a Diver came in and asked for permission so Beach Creek is multiple jurisdictions. There's 4 counties that meet. in Beach Creek, which causes a big problem. Just happens that Summer's house is on the Hawkins County side. So you have Greene County, Washington County, Sullivan County, Hawkins. You can stand in one point and put a limb, each one of your 4 limbs in a county out there. So you have to get multiple jurisdictions permission to do things out there. So Nita Diver went to TBI, which is Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Hawkins County went to Sullivan County, Greene County, Washington County. All of them said, sure, come in and do what you need to do. And this is after AWP tells them that law enforcement tells Adventures with Purpose now that she's not in the water. They go to Hawkins County to ask for permission, and Hawkins County police said, you can come in or do whatever, but we didn't ask you to come. We don't want you to be here. It's what they told them. What is the reason for that? So they're telling Jared from Adventures of Purpose. I have the emails. I did a whole live where I proved everything. I had receipts. I reached out to Adventures of Purpose. We proved that law enforcement did tell them that. So and Nita Diver has cleared waters that law enforcement has not ever touched. So how can you say that if you don't know anything? So we're pushing the envelope on them. And we're going to make them come correct if they're going to.
Yeah. So who owns the property then? Who owns those properties?
Sorry. Okay. So you remember me telling you that there is those 2 families that own. So there's properties are there's one owned by the lights out there. I can't really give locations.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm bounded by that. I can't do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, but they're very close. We'll just say that they're very close to where one of the ponds we found was what, not even a half a mile.
Yeah,
not even half a mile. Had never been searched.
Wow.
I am okay, and maybe this is my wanting to believe that sheriffs and smaller police departments would be because they're closer to the people would want to do the right thing, right? Maybe that's my naivete. But the idea that a sheriff's department who's looking for a small child would turn away help from professionals is insane to me.
Yes.
That is, like, I get the FBI. I mean, at this point, the FBI, while there's always going to be good FBI agents, the FBI is corrupt. We know this for a fact. That's not even a question anymore.
Yeah.
But the local sheriffs, the police departments, but for them to come in and say, no, we don't need your help when we know that. I'm still floored by the idea that they were even bothered saying we know she's not in the water. If you don't know where she is, you don't know that she's not in the water.
Yeah, that is unheard. I shouldn't say unheard of, but that's fascinating that they would see that so definitively.
And they're not equipped. We've found this out through. This is the second high profile case. Evelyn Boswell was in Sullivan County, which is the neighboring county that happened a little while back. They found her, and mother was responsible for that one. Well, allegedly, right now it hasn't been to trial yet, so I'll say allegedly right now. So we know now that Hawkins County, we've seen that they weren't equipped to deal with a high profile case like this. These little towns, and they don't want to admit that, though. I think that's the problem. A lot of we are actually doing another case out of Richlands, Virginia. His name's Richard Timothy Honeacre. The FBI and multiple search groups wanted to come in and help with him. He's going on 8 months missing now. The local law enforcement turned down help from the FBI and from all those. I'm like, why would you turn down help when they're coming in saying we can bring answers to these cases?
Yeah.
How many times, Allison, have we heard it now?
way too many.
Way too many. Way too many.
Oh, we lost Daniela. Okay, well, we'll keep this going. Cheese-free ginger snap is actually not too far away from y'all, or away from this case. She said that she was talking, or that I can't talk. This is what medication does to you. But they said that after 3 days they were rejecting help. The police department.
Is this the same ginger snap that I know? I want to know if that's because I think I know a ginger snap. If she'll answer that, I want to know if that's because I actually met her personally, and I wonder if that's. I've seen her comments, and she's been dead on a few times or something. But
Cheese Freak, he's calling you out. Are you the same Cheese Freak that's been stalking him IRL?
No. No, I met her at a vigil for Summer Wells. If it's the same one.
Gotcha. So let me ask this. Going back to sort of the earlier question I asked, they're turning down help after 3 days. They're turning down help from from divers who could go into water. And if you don't know where she is, basic assumption is she could be anywhere, and you're rejecting that help. And there's a FLIR camera, a very expensive FLIR camera, that's been up for the last 5 months.
Yeah.
Okay, 110 agencies, no one has anything to do with this chick or this poor little girl. I'm smelling a rat here. This doesn't, these things. Now, again, never chalk up to or never assume malice when incompetence will do. But there's a certain point where we all have to start saying, yeah, incompetence would account for some of this, but not all of this. This is getting to, something else is happening here. What do you have any suspicion as to what that other thing might be?
Allison, you want to answer that?
I wasn't paying attention.
No, he's saying he's smelling a rat right here. And okay, so there has been. I hope this answer, if I heard you correctly. So this is what we have. There was another girl in 2016 that went missing out of Hawkins County. Mm-hmm. She was found on Sheriff Lawson's land. Okay.
The sheriff of Hawkins.
The sheriff of Hawkins County.
Oh, really?
Found on his land by his brother, Sheriff Lawson's brother, and a pastor. So so they say the uncle took her. Out of all the places you go and want to hide, and if saying you're taking somebody, this young girl, you go to the sheriff's land, and it just happens to be his. They say send people out to go search, and they run across you. Y'all can research it. It's her name is Carly Trent, was the little girl that went missing. And so then there has been that we're trying to get the mainstream media to go in and do an interview with the uncle. He got a lot of time in prison, and he was trying to talk about some stuff that didn't add up. Well, we don't understand. Now this is total my opinion now, and what we have researched and what I have found but it does not make sense. Now the news stories, there's been 2 different stories. They reported this to the 2 guys that found her wrong twice, and then there's 2 conflicting news stories, which I find is weird. But it's always okay. So the sheriff of Hawkins County, his name is Ronnie Lawson. Then his brother is Donnie Lawson, and then there's another brother who's the mayor of Churchill, Tennessee, which is part of Hawkins County. They're all. He sat as the sheriff for 40-something years of Hawkins County.
Okay.
So why, out of all the places that you go and take off to hide, that you would be in a shed on Sheriff Lawson's land? It does not add up to me, and we're trying to look into that. There's something going on over there, and it's weird. We'll just say that. Yeah, good job, babe.
Okay, you got me more interested in this than I thought I was going to be, because I was like, okay, so this is where we hear Bigfoot. No, now it got real interesting right there, because everyone who watches the channel over Trinity, and I think I've mentioned it here on this channel a bunch of times. I one of the things I've personally run across, and not saying that that's what's going on here, right?
No,
but because of the industry that I work in, I have had the opportunity to run across a few properties that were utilized by judging by what they did there, not just a bunch of rubes or people who learned it off the internet, but real occultists, real satanic occultists. I mean, the real stuff, not the stuff that I'm going to go to Sephora and buy my White Witch starter kit. I mean, the real stuff where people go missing kind of thing. Again, talk to some friends I know who have places, and they've all confirmed. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is a real thing. This is not an accident. Like, it's been around for a long time." And the further I've dug, the more I've realized that this has been around a lot longer than people realize. There's always been this very dark occult subculture, and it's very vibrant. Now,
And it
again,
goes up into the highest parts of government.
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but what you just said reminded me. It's like, hold on, there are things much worse out there than maybe some animal that isn't discovered or whatever. It sounds like that maybe something else. Maybe somebody saw something else they shouldn't have, and this is not it's not cryptid. This may be more human oriented.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I missed part of the conversation. Sorry, I did have a technical problem there where I kicked the lead from a monitor out of the computer. I couldn't see.
I'll tell you, Danielle, what I just told him. So there, he said he's starting to smell a rat in there somewhere, and I said we've been on the same page with this. So there was another girl, 2016, named Carly Trent, that went missing in Hawkins County. She was found a short time after. Now there was it kind of went mainstream a little bit, but not big. But she was found on Sheriff Lawson's land by Sheriff Lawson's brother in a shed there. And out of all the places, now they said the uncle took her and did that. He used to have custody of her. They said he signed her out of school, took her. So why out of all the places you can go in these mountains, and it's really, I mean, you can go deep in these mountains. You go to Sheriff Lawson's land, and then his brother finds this girl on the Sheriff Lawson's brother, Donnie Lawson, and the sheriff sat in office for 40-something years over Hawkins County. And I'll tell you something else, another kicker to all this. He released a statement about Summer Wells the other day, and then right under it said, re-election time's coming back up, and that scares me for her case. What are you sitting on? Is it going to come close to re-election time, and then you're going to just blow it out of the water? What's happening? There's something going on over there, and it's
everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere's so corrupt. Everywhere. Everyone's got something on somebody. I mean, there's someone in the chat tonight. JT's been commenting, obviously following this case.
Yep.
With Candice as well. I mean, so many people are interested in this.
Oh, who's Candice's sister? Is that the sister of the other woman, or
that's Summer's mom?
Okay.
And her sister Rose Bly went missing 2000. So yeah, about 2010, 2009, in Wisconsin without a trace. So that's kind of why we brought David Politis in. He covered this case on Missing Can-Am Project's page 4 months ago, and he said, I never ever talk about an open case till he'll never. But he said this case shows all signs of a missing 411 case. There was been no answers to her case. She went out. Okay, so this is the thing about her. She had an accident where she fell off a horse and banged her head really hard, like a week prior to her going missing. She goes out with her cousin. They were supposed to meet at a bar. They find her car, though, and she's just gone without a trace. There was nothing. There's nothing. And then we go just all the way to Tennessee. Now, mind you, Candice didn't live in Wisconsin when this happened. Candice lived in Arkansas and just met Don, Summer's dad. Then they moved to Tennessee, where Don's mother owned this 11 acres. She was sick and she passed away, and everything was passed to Don. Then Summer goes missing June 15th, 2021. And so that's been why this case has been so crazy. You already have an aunt that goes missing, and then now this, and it's just insane. And there's nothing to tie anything together. There's just nothing. The only evidence we have is Rosie's missing and Summer's missing. That's what we got to go on.
Yeah. Ian, you muted, Jackie.
I was just saying weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's weird.
I'm the first one to say, don't look for patterns where they don't necessarily exist. But it seems like that's too much of a coincidence for my flavor. I mean, even
Yeah.
okay, great, it's a different state, but it's not like people don't have cars,
Yeah, exactly.
right? I mean, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Like 1,000 years ago, that distance would have been pointless. It's like, well, yeah, then clearly they couldn't be related. But now, that's what, a 10, 12 hour or 18-hour drive.
Yeah, but there.
Before
But the thing about it's like, so the mom, okay, the mother of Candace and Rosie, I think lived in Wisconsin then at that time.
Mhm.
But there's no common denominator between the families. This is what's weird is you've got the mother of Summer Wells and the father of Summer Wells in Arkansas. You have Rosie and her husband with her two kids in Wisconsin. And then years later, Dawn and them moved to, so she goes missing, and I'm trying to not get mixed up here. So she goes missing in
Gotcha.
2009, 2010. There's, like I said, there's no suspects, there's nothing. It's just she's gone. And then
I mean, it could be completely unrelated as well, though. And
yeah,
that's
they
the thing,
could.
isn't it? I mean,
They could.
people go missing.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And it's not often,
anything's weird. Yeah.
no, not often lightning strikes twice, but it does sometimes. And some people are really unlucky, don't they? And they just seem to
Oh yeah,
be
exactly.
that. So,
Yeah, and some people get hit by lightning multiple times.
Yeah.
So going back to you, so just one question though. I mean, they are still related on the matrilineal line, though, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it is her DNA, it's her genetic aunt that went missing.
Yes.
So the only connection is genetic, but and the fact that they both have disappeared in what anyone could argue is at least an odd and quizzical manner.
Yeah.
So okay.
Batman says, wonder if she found out something about her missing family.
Summer's 5 years old.
Yeah.
Rosie was at the time. Hey, Allison, how old was Rose Ball when she went missing?
21.
21. She was married to an older man at that time and had two kids. The only weird thing I will say about him is when she went missing, he filed for divorce immediately for abandonment.
Right.
There was nothing, so that there was, and then that really wasn't ever talked about much. And then, now I'll tell you this: in Candace's house, present now and has been since before Summer went missing, the only picture hanging in that house is a picture of Rosie on the wall of her missing sister. So it really hurt her a lot. And the mother, I've talked to grandma, which she's done no interviews. There's a kind of a special that you can hear her talking about Rose that came out, but I've met grandma and Candace. They are I'll tell you, the grandmother is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And she didn't strike me the way that the media had painted her. I thought she was going to be this old, evil, grumpy woman.
Mm-hmm.
When I met her, the total opposite. It shocked me. She said, "Get over here. She said, I'm not a handshaker. I'm a hugger." And I mean, it just showed me that I'm not always going to swallow what I'm being fed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right. Nor should we. Yeah,
Nor
exactly.
should we.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's just we're going to.
There's so many layers to this, isn't there? And we think we can form a judgment, but actually there's just so much going on. Shiloh here asks, why didn't they hear the dogs bark? They had several.
Okay.
Ooh.
So this is a good question, and I can answer this. There was multiple three tree companies that were working for the power lines, cutting. They were there the day of her going missing and a week or so prior. The chainsaws and everything that were going off had scared those dogs. These dogs aren't just like pets; they're strays that the Wells will feed. They go off into the woods. I've been up there a total now of 5 times on the property. 3 out of the 5 times, I didn't see a single dog on the property. 2 of the times there was a couple, and then now there is a mother dog that had a litter of 5 pups that was up under the house since Summer went missing, and they're only like, I think those pups are now about 2 months, 3 months old. So then there's those that kind of hang around the house now. But that's if that gets so that you have a lot of action happening up here around the house when Summer goes missing. You got tree cutters, they're up around there. I think that those people weren't completely vetted. That's what's weird. You have these multiple tree companies too that didn't see a thing. We always and we didn't add this. There was a neighbor across the road that she said she heard a scream around the time that Summer goes missing. What does Sheriff Lawson come out and say? He says it's unfounded. Not only did this woman hear it, but her 2 kids did too. So how can you say that that's unfounded, that these people didn't hear what they heard?
Yeah.
I just
the guy from the interview room, he went up there to the property. He went up twice actually.
Yeah.
He went up first time, and then I think the next day he went again. And he said the first time he thinks the dogs were barking at him, but the second time, or they were like just laying around, not even bothered. But if those dogs recognize people, they might not even think about barking again. They won't want to bark. You don't know, do you?
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons why the dogs maybe didn't bark, and if it's a familiar face,
well, and if they're basically feral, right? They're just familiar. They're familiar with the humans. They're not going to necessarily have protective instincts towards the child.
Thank you for saying that, because I've been trying to.
Yeah, then the dogs are almost pointless in the conversation. It would be different if she had like the family pet out there with her.
Yeah.
Then that would be a valid conversation. Like, well, hold on, if the dog's not barking, maybe it's someone they're familiar with. But these are feral dogs. They're not necessarily going to consider the girl pack, which means they're not going to necessarily come to her rescue.
Yeah.
Or see it odd if she's abducted by another person or a Bigfoot or whatever, right? They're not going to have a response because they're feral. They're not trying to protect her.
They run in packs too. They run it's just like a pack. They run in a pack. And I spoke to a neighbor on a property we went on and said, I see them dogs swimming in my pond out here, and it's a good distance away. So they're not always around that property. They just go where they can get a meal. So we don't know everywhere that these dogs are calling home and where they're sleeping at and staying. I thought that point of view was blown so far out of the water. And I'll tell you this too about that property. People are saying, well, why didn't they hear it? Because now the creator of the interview room that you talked about said, well, we have to, the victimology, he calls it, is that where this location is, that nobody would go up there and do. I said, well, you got to take into account too that criminals are always evolving. And if you have law enforcement that's not always evolving with it, then they're not paying attention to what. So they're not going to always strike in a public area. If somebody wanted her bad enough, they're going to go up there and do what they want.
Yeah.
It's a sad, scary thing. But and we were up on the property too, and I'll tell you this: Don came home in a 2-wheel drive truck, getting up this awful driveway, and we were standing in the middle of the driveway, not even behind the house to shut out sound. And I didn't hear him coming up this gravel driveway till he was right on top of us. Said, I don't know if that's because of the trees. Y'all will have to look. If you're not familiar with the case, look at the property. It's like a circle and it's surrounded by trees. It's noise cancellation.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that on Texas Channel. But trees, people do not understand how greenery will absolutely eat up sound.
The acoustics totally change, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Trees around you. These unusual calls you hear, you just have to think about where you're at as well and what's in between you and that. And,
this is why true crime community and Bigfoot community can come together, because there's a lot of things with when they're investigating, like sound and just the noise carrying range and who could hear this, who could hear that. It's the same things that you put into account with. And I think if it was taken seriously, like by a lot more people, we could come to some answers a lot more quickly than we have.
Well, and back to your point about the police not necessarily always evolving with criminals. I think the one really unspoken truth about, crime, whether it's serial killers, all these things, basically most of these crimes that we actually discover the evidence is discovered accidentally on most of it, and or we're only getting the dumb ones. We're getting the ones who are making the mistakes.
That's
and
right.
how many serial killers that were like, okay, well, they're going on trial for the 7 people we proved and they're like, yeah, no, I killed 30.
Yeah,
right?
and they don't. That's not the ones we can prove. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's-
like people like, that's the thing that we tend to I don't want to come down too hard on police or anything, but at the same point, they're human dealing with very limited technology and very limited resources, and there's only so much, and they have to deal with what they can, like you said, prove in a court of law.
Yeah.
There are so many cases. I mean, realistically, they're not getting the smart ones. They're not getting the ones who aren't making the mistakes, and if like half the evidence that even proves a crime existed was recovered entirely accidentally, right? Because someone is diving in a lake and finds a car with a body in it, right? Story I heard personally, like they would have never known this woman had gone missing. She had no family. They wouldn't have known she had been killed. They hadn't found her car, and it wasn't a police officer who found it. It was some random dude swimming in a man-made lake. So it's like,
well, to what you're saying there as well is it's not police really who solve crimes; it's the public.
Yes.
Look at Bob the Baker up here in Alaska. Bob the Baker, the
public
really
are the ones
horrible
that
crime.
that helps solve crimes.
Yeah, like the police were going to his donut shop, and so they couldn't imagine it was him, even though the woman was handcuffed and clearly was like, look, he was gonna throw me in his plane. Yeah, and they couldn't get past their own face.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, police have blind spots too. Like you said, they're going to the guy's donut shop. You get to know him. You're like, there's no way this guy's a criminal. How often do we hear? There's no way that I would think that this guy was a serial killer, eating people's left pinky and then burying them in his gardenias, right? Like you'd never assume that that's the guy down the street or the guy that you've known. Truth be told, we don't really ever know anyone. I mean, outside of our immediate, unless they're in your home, and even then, you don't always know that person.
Yeah, Bob's wife and kids, I'm sure they're just as flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I think
not. You never know.
Like I said, there's those non-premeditated accidents, killings, deaths that happen that just are out of someone's control.
Well, out here, we've got some swampland and stuff, and if you step on that just wrong in the wrong place, you can be gone. It's gone. And how many times does that happen? And people, the ground would just come right back over, and there's no hole. I mean, it just literally just swallow you up, and you're not gonna find anything.
No, there's so many reasons, isn't there?
Yeah.
Cheese Freak Ginger Snap. I did. If you want, you said you're from Loudon, Tennessee. We just covered a case yesterday on Tegan Dougherty that went missing from there, and the dad is really reaching out for help. There's actually been a possible sighting of him, and he went missing October 10th, and nobody had covered. Media hadn't covered it. We did it last night, and there's been News Nation covered it today, so they're paying attention, and nobody had done nothing on it. So he, the dad lives in Alaska. He contacted us. We put the story out, and he's asking if you want to. He's answering questions in my comments. So if you know anything and you can have help towards anything, you can talk to him personally over there. This is what true crime should be about. I just thought about that when I saw this is what we should be doing to help bring answers to family. This little boy, man, that case touched my heart because he took his goldfish with him in a backpack, and he thought that it was slosh around on his bike and killed the goldfish, so he left his backpack on the side of the road. True about cry, but
man,
he left it there, and they haven't There's just been nothing. The mother, this really irked me really bad. The mother, instead of putting any information out for him, she put a GoFundMe up for a new house. But the father, who lives in Alaska, he was wanting to come out and search in Tennessee, and due to custody issues, was told, you're a free man, you can do what you want, but if you get around the child, if you find him, then we'll arrest you for the custodial thing. That's wrong. That's the problem that we have to. That man,
That's disturbing.
yes, he was cited on Web Drive right there. Cheese Freak Ginger Snap. It says, got a reverse 911 call tonight. I heard it. It's my neighborhood. See that right there? That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for allowing me to come on here with you guys. That's awesome. I wanted to talk about this. We actually had a girl on an Amber Alert name, and you remember the two families I told you from Beach Creek. Her name was Lexi Dykes. It's the Dykes and the Lights. She had an Amber Alert. We did a live stream about her, and she called into my live stream and told us she was okay. And we reached out to law enforcement over there in Hawkins County, and they said, we don't disturb it was a Friday night. They said, we don't disturb our detectives after hours. Call back Monday.
What the hell?
That's what they told us. It's on our channel.
And Monday was a
holiday. Monday was a holiday. So Tuesday, she tried to reach out for help to tell people, and Sheriff Lawson said he would help her get a better placement, and then on Tuesday arrested her and put her in a juvenile detention center.
For running away.
That's the problems that we're having. That's what we're fighting against here.
Hold on. Okay. Okay. We're going to talk after this. Because something just popped into my head, and I'm trying to remember connections here, but I don't want to waste our time with that. But yeah, once the show's over, we're going to talk. We're going to have you on the show, because this is a conversation we need to be having. That's insane. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
How are you going to have an Amber Alert and be like, well, we're not going to do anything with it until next business day? This isn't some guy's pipe that burst or a radiator leak that you want to get the insurance back on. This is a child who has gone missing, and if you're doing an Amber Alert, you're fearing for their lives,
right,
and their safety. How in the hell is your response? Call us on Monday. That's insane.
Yeah,
none of it adds
up. We were infuriated, to say I was flabbergasted and then infuriated, because I called TBI, the ones who issued the alert, and they said, well, we really don't have much information on that yet. And then I called Hawkins County, and they said, call back Monday. We don't like to disturb our detectives after hours. I have everything. It's documented. We did a live after that discussing about what we were told. This is the problem we're having here. And this little boy, because they issued him as a runaway, they didn't put an Amber Alert. The Teagan boy in Loudoun County, they didn't put an Amber Alert out for him or anything. He's 15. He has the mental acuity, they said, of a 10-year-old or 11-year-old. And then the dad says, no, actually, I would put him more at 13-year-old. But still, he's not right. Okay, it upsets me, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. But the dad lives in Alaska. He said that he's doing the whole building. I guess he got property and he's building a homestead. That's what they were doing. Then when they first went up there, they had hardships, and but they grew. He said, I taught my son how to survive. We spent our first winter up here in a tent at 40 below, but he said we survived, we lived. And my son, I asked him, do you want to go live with your mother or your grandma? He said, I don't want to leave you, Dad. Well, he got the homestead up. They were living good. He let the son go to Tennessee to stay with the mom. She filed an emergency injunction to have custody taken from the dad. She had already had 5 children taken from her in the state of New York, and another one in Alabama. She doesn't have custody, but she won this, and because the Tennessee went on the law, they went on the laws. Okay, Alaska's laws are a lot different than Tennessee's laws with and you would
Right.
know that, Iron Dogger, you know that.
Yeah.
And so they tried, Tennessee tried to go on their laws for what he was doing in Alaska or something. The dad, and it's just it's sickening, the cases, the way that the law enforcement is handling these cases, and we're trying to bring it to attention that, hey, people know about what you're doing. And to say
People need to know.
Yeah, and
However sad. Sorry, go on.
oh, sorry. All I was going to say is if the dad is actually doing a homestead up here in Alaska, he can't leave his property. Like, he can't leave. That's part of the homestead agreement that they make with the people that take on these homesteads up here, and you can't leave it. You have to cultivate it. You have to stay there for a specific amount of time. And if he's in that period, I cannot imagine what's going through his head.
But he was willing to leave. He was willing to leave. And listen, this is how a parent should.
Yeah.
He reached out to us. He said people have been trying to give him money, everything in the comments. He's not only is he answering my comments on my channel, he's doing his part. That's what a parent should do. Be doing whatever they can do. When they've offered money to him, he said, no, put it towards people that need it for money, flock to help find my son. That spoke volumes to me. I felt very he was very honest about his whole life. He said, I'm not perfect, but I tried to. He said, I actually want to leave something to my child besides my last paycheck. He said, I want to leave them something. So I came up here and got this homestead and got this property. And I could really tell that this is a man that's trying to change he was trying to change the life that he had and try to do better. And the mother, there hasn't been one thing. She did one news interview, and I'm not going to judge her. She did. Actions speak louder than words. Go research it. You'll see it for yourself. But, I don't know, guys. Thank y'all for letting me come on here and talk about this stuff. This is some stuff that I haven't even got to speak about on my own channel because.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It takes a space for you to be able to feel that, like you can, like a good connection. And I think we've made that here.
Absolutely.
With all of us here and everyone in the chat as well. This is really painful stuff. And if you're upset by it, just imagine how these families are feeling. And sometimes you have to be exposed to this stuff to know what is going on out there. A lot of us just don't even think twice about what's going on in the house next door to us. But there's really terrible stuff going on, and unless we start talking about it and raising some sort of awareness, because maybe you can help. Maybe you're living next door to someone who's doing something bad to a kid, or it's just an example. But people need to be more aware of stuff. And hopefully we'll definitely want you to come back on again, Cam.
No problem.
And we'll go into this a lot more and talk about other cases and what's going wrong, and what we need to focus on, not to try and make a show out of it.
That's right.
Other channels are. Let's really see if we can make a difference. It takes all of us to do something. Unless we do, nothing will happen. So I look forward to the next time for sure. And again, thank you for coming on and opening up, because I know you come from the heart, and that's why you are passionate about doing something, because it affects you, and that's how it should be.
Well, I have two small children, and that's in it. And when I look at my children, it makes me hold mine a little closer and pay more attention, because we're living in a fallen world right now, and it gets worse by the day.
Yeah.
Let's bring awareness, and like I said, we can all do this. We have cases in our own backyards that we don't even know about because mainstream media picks and chooses which one's deemed worthy.
Exactly.
And that's not right. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Well, thanks to everyone who's. I know we've gone nearly 2 hours tonight, which is a bit of a record for anything goes. But it has been fascinating, and I've always said I love true crime. I'm very interested in it, and tonight I get to talk to someone who's like knows what he's talking about and very passionate about it. So I've been very lucky and fortunate that you've come on.
Thank you, and I'm very, very picky on who I subscribe to on on channels. So I've watched you guys, and I go based on character and how I feel like that people. And I listen for a while, and I've watched you guys for a long time, and I pay attention, and y'all guys do a good job. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Jason's not bad either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm mad at him in this too. I've seen him. I thought when he prayed on that documentary that they did the other day, I was like, "That's what's up. That's how you got to go into it."
He's the man.
That's right.
I'm just gonna sit here and smile.
Yeah.
I'm the eye candy on this show. What are we talking about?
I know it's
the reason we don't go so long is you can only argue on how to say tomato so long.
I thought you were going to take another button off, but obviously you've been just as intrigued. I know you've got COVID.
I've got oils on. I don't.
I know. You've got the.
Plus, the show is a little serious right now. I don't think we need to distract.
Well,
I don't want Cam to be distracted by my rugged sexiness.
I know. We'll do it later.
Right.
That's for off air.
Saved all that in.
Off air, like top shelf stuff. Or is it behind the counter? I can't remember. Thank you, everyone. That's the one. Once again, thanks everyone. I'm sorry if I missed anyone in the chat. I didn't mean to do it on purpose, but thanks for your inputs, your comments, your prayers and thoughts and support to this channel and the people that we have on. And we're going to get Cam on again for sure, and delve into some more stuff. But until the next time, guys, Jason, what are you up to? You got anything going on?
Well, since Thanksgiving is this week, I will do my Bible study on Tuesday.
Okay.
Outside that, I think I'm out for the week.
All right. And Dogger, you're out scooching and
scooching
and walking and doing all that. And Cam, what do you do on your channel? Are you going out on regular nights or something like uploading regular things? Or just
so we do a series on Mondays, usually called Missing Monday. Okay. Sunday nights usually we do prayer requests and we pray for people on that night. But Monday night we do Missing Monday. I have Tuesday Turmoil that we cover. Some weeks I do it, some weeks I don't. I'm trying to get, because due to my searching, when we get invited to go out and search, sometimes everything it's just not a set schedule. Yeah. So I go on and try to explain things as I can. I was supposed to do a thing tonight on my channel on trace labs, but I wanted to do this instead. So I guess I'll probably move that till tomorrow. So if y'all want to hear more about what we got going on with Trace Labs and what they're doing, come check that out tomorrow. And they are searching the dark web. Like I said, if you have an online footprint and you've done nefarious things, they'll find it. And so that's what we're kind of looking for. So
yeah,
I've just put a link to Cam's channel in the chat. I'll leave it in the description as well. Once again, thanks everyone. I'll catch up with you all in the week. Until then, stay safe and see you all soon.